Hashtag stuff happens trending today in social media. It came from Jeb Bush's response to the discussion about the Oregon shooting. He said, stuff happens. There's always a crisis, and the impulse is always to do something, and it's not necessarily the right thing. He's taking a lot of heat from this tweet, but he is in trouble for his comments. Do you think it's just because his name is not Donald Trump? Here to discuss is someone who is not a fan of Trump or Bush, columnist and political commentator Jonathan Harris. Jonathan, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Hey, how are you?
All right, Jonathan, is what Bush said correct, though? Because, I mean, kind of stuff does actually happen, but is it just that was somehow demeaning to the victims? Is that the idea?
I think it's probably in Jeb's best interest not to talk anymore, just publicly. I think he's definitely at that point. Like, I mean, what did he just say? What was it, the first thing he said was about people needing to work longer hours, and then he just recently was saying that blacks want free stuff from the government, and now apparently shootings, stuff happens. I think it's probably in his best interest to just kind of take like the Hillary approach and kind of cut the interviews back.
rope off the media.
Yeah, rope off the media and just like, you know, like, I'm going to take the Hillary approach.
The scariest moments for you and I both, I think, are when we start off agreeing on something.
Isn't that,
but I'm pretty sure that just
again?
happened, and I think it's like the third time, so I hope it's not like a third strike.
I keep these written down.
Yeah.
It's a short list.
What do you think if Donald Trump had said it, though? Would he have gotten away with it?
He would have. More than likely.
Because what is that dichotomy, that irony? What is happening there? I love letting liberals.
I was going to say you're getting this from the liberal perspective.
Yeah, but I really do want to see. I want to see it through your eyes for a minute.
Someone, and this isn't original. I got this. Someone said to me that Trump is sort of like the drunk family member at a barbecue. And so you just expect him to say kind of whatever comes to mind. And so I think because he does, you're just like, that's just the drunk family member. But I think other candidates, you kind of hold them to a higher standard of what is appropriate, what's reasonable to say. And so when they say something like that, then you get to a point where you're like, whoa, like, did you really just say that?
But I mean, if he was the drunk family member, he wouldn't still be winning in all the polls, and he is. And
you're
this
setting
is my
me up
thing.
for the best Republican joke ever. But
Don't do it.
I won't
Don't
tell
do
it.
it.
I won't tell it.
No, I'm teasing. But really seriously, like, I tend to think that because Trump came on the scene, entered into this as not the consultant packaged candidate, that no one therefore expects him to be the consultant. So he gets a break that others don't get. And people see him going, oh, yeah, you know, I say stupid stuff too.
Right.
He says stupid stuff. Therefore, we're kind of alike, even though he's a 10 billionaire.
And I will say, all jokes aside about Trump, one thing I will say in his favor is he doesn't use political speak to talk to people, and that is always disengaging. That's sort of like, you know, we're going to look into it. Like, he actually sort of talks on the level of many people, and I think that's what makes people sort of latch on to what I think is the nuttiest rhetoric ever. But I think he talks to people on a person-to-person level, which might be why he's very good at business.
All right, Geraldo says the gun lobby is the issue, and they are to blame for this particular instance that just happened in Oregon. He called the U.S. a gun-sick nation and said that the gun lobby controls the country. Do you agree with those words?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I think it's pretty clear. All the numbers show that we have an abnormal amount of gun violence, period, in this country. And unless you believe, and President Obama said something to this effect, unless you believe that Americans by themselves are just innately more violent, it has to do with our gun culture. We have a gun culture, and if we don't take it on... I mean,
do we have a gun culture, or do we have a culture that doesn't respect life? And why might that be?
Well, I think, which is, again, where I see the irony in the Republican Party is it's like they call themselves pro-life, but they want an AR-15 on their back to go to Walmart. And I'm like, what? Okay, like, I guess you can be pro-life, but then not want to, you know, help the life if it's hungry, because that's a government handout.
They want the AR-15 in their backpack, if you will, or whatever it was you said, because they're worried that someone like this killer might walk in and that they might then be able to protect those lives.
I don't think it's that.
That is that, because I'm one of those people.
But see, what I've seen...
it is that. I like carrying my gun because I like knowing that if someone walks in here...
Is there an AR-15 behind the couch?
Yeah, you just in my back pocket. That if someone walks in here, that I could protect you.
Right.
Right? So that matters to me, and that's why I want that gun.
Well, see, I would say that you're maybe a more reasonable... There are reasonable people who own guns. I'm talking about this sort of ideology that the right has built around gun ownership. They have taken an amendment that was clearly designed to maintain a militia and well regulated. It says it in the Second Amendment, who do they think was doing the regulating? The government. But they have taken all of that out, and they've said, clearly the founding fathers of America wanted me to go to like Walmart or Coco's with a semi-automatic rifle. And
if
it's
you go
just
to Coco's
insane.
with the gun, then you're more likely to be able to protect people. For example, during the LA riots, where if they hadn't had those automatic weapons, they wouldn't have been able to protect those people that they did.
But do you need that? I mean, we just saw those people, I think, was it in Paris, or I forget where it was, that stopped a set of violence on a train, I believe it was recently, and they weren't armed. You didn't need a gun. You just, you just acted. I think the studies are clear. The more often there's a presence of a gun, the more likely there is to be gun violence. So,
well, actually, it's just the opposite. The more likely, the more people who are trained and own firearms, the less gun violence there is in those particular areas. For example, in Georgia, Cobb County, Georgia, they have a 1 gun per household rule. And because of that, they have almost no gun crime.
Right, but when there is a gun present in the home, there's more likely to be gun violence. So we have a bit of a gun culture in our country.
Thanks for being with us, Jonathan. Up next, our rapid fire round. Remember, we want to hear from you. Go vote in our poll right now. More America Trends coming up right after this.